Hey y'all, it's your girl Celestine's Camera Roll. If you are new to my channel, do me a favor and go to that bell, turn on all notifications so you're notified every time I do a video, whether it is a vlog about my life and my bundle of joy, or my other half of my channel, which consists of story times, whichever thing you're interested in when it comes to the niche thing here on YouTube. Today's story time will be a very much like sad story time, but it's a lesson in how we can all learn that life is too short. So let's get started. My biological mom, I don't know how many kids she has, but I know she has children. I thought that I was the third, but maybe some years ago I found out that there's more than 6 kids. Not sure. I don't really know the history of my mother or my birth giver, whichever you want to call her. I didn't meet her till I was 16. That type of thing. And I had an older sister who is 3 years older than me that was born before me. And we'll call her Shelly for the sake of the video, out of respect for my sister and that the fact that she's passed. She passed away in 2018. It was round this time and all the way to the end of the month, where for some reason I had been thinking about my sister all the way up until July 10th. Before 2018, she invited me for Christmas and New Year's to her house. She had an issue with her husband. Her husband didn't want her around family members. Her husband only wanted her around her. He was a very selfish guy. So they got into an argument, and she basically told him, if I can't have my family around me this holiday, I want a divorce. So she asked me to come down, and I came down. Not only was I the only one that came down, she had a friend who also passed away after my sister passed away, named D. We just call her D for the reference of the video and for the respect of the past one. It was me, and it was D, and it was her. She wanted both of us at her house for Christmas and New Year's. We're getting along. We're all happy to see each other. I arrived. I was making my way to her. I was living in Cleveland, Ohio, and I went to catch the 28 out to 260th in Euclid area. Harbor Crest Apartments to be exact. Before I could get on the number 28 bus, I guess her husband, or either she talked her husband into coming and getting me from the Windermere Rapid Station, which is a train station, kind of like how New York has trains. And he had a real nasty demeanor. I didn't like him, never liked him. And I was getting ready, I was waiting on the 28. The 28 had a long while before it came, and all of a sudden he pulled up, and my sister calls me and she says, hey, D's gonna come get you. Her husband's name started with a D, so we're gonna call him D2. D2's gonna come get you. And I said, okay. So we pull up, they pull up to the Windermere Rapid Station, and I'm getting in the car, and he says to me in a nasty manner,
you lucky this your sister, because if y'all weren't family, I would have came and got you anyway.
Like nasty demeanor, like, okay, damn, you didn't even give me time to say thank you, and that's the first thing you say to me? Okay, alright, I see how we gonna do. Now I definitely don't like you. So we get to the house, we step in the house, we're chilling. She says, D's gonna come tomorrow, meaning her friend, her other friend who's passed away. And I say, okay, cool. So she gonna be here. I liked it, her friend, because we all had talks 3-way on the phone, all the way from 16 years old when I first found out about my birth giver and got to know that I had a sister, all the way up until she passed. So she's like, oh yeah, she gonna come. I'm so excited. Y'all gonna come, y'all gonna come. So we get there, we step in the house, and for the first night it's just me and her. D doesn't come until the next day mid-afternoon, even though she lived in Cleveland. So I think she kind of lived in another city, I don't remember. But we get there, and she says, yeah, she's gonna come tomorrow. So we're chilling, And the whole time, my sister is basically not around me. The first night, she's in the bedroom, cooped up with her husband, barely talking to me. It started to feel weird because from the get-go, her husband had a nasty demeanor. And anytime she would come sit and talk to me in the living room, he would call her back in the room like, Shelly, Shelly, Shelly this, Shelly that, Shelly, come here for a minute, Shelly. Basically keeping us separate from each other because he didn't want us talking, because he didn't want us there anyway. She goes back. I'm basically in the living room by myself, chilling, and I decided to just get on the computer, be on the internet, sit at the table, chill, get on the computer and be on the internet, use her laptop, and just surf around on the Wi-Fi while they was back in the room, lollygagging or whatever. Day 2 comes. Her friend comes down, and I don't feel so lonely, even if, her husband calls her back in the room. So we talking. Her husband leaves for a few hours, and we're all being girls, chilling, laughing, turning on the music, dancing. You see how short life is? In just that amount of time, we had a good time starting the second day. It's me, her friend D, and we're all just cackling, just having a good old grand old time. So then when her husband comes back, and by the way, he was a crackhead, so he would go to around the Huff area and go smoke dope and be with his friends all day and then just come home. So we do that, and then it just be me and I'm sorry, I just said her name. It'd be me and D in the living room talking and conversing back and forth, and we keep each other company. Then we go to sleep. So we go to sleep, and the third day hits, Christmas hits. They're all exchanging gifts. Everybody's opening up gifts. I really didn't get anything, not expecting that. I just wanted to spend time with her and my nieces and nephews or whatever, and D as well, because we were all, whatever the case. Christmas ends, it goes good, and D starts to feel uncomfortable. And we're talking, and she's like, I'm probably gonna go home tomorrow when I get up tomorrow afternoon. And I'm like, if you leave, I'm leaving. She's like, you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely sure. I said, because she was like, I just don't want to be here because he make me feel so uncomfortable. You don't feel uncomfortable? And I'm like, yeah, I feel uncomfortable too. And I said, if you leave, I'm leaving, because I'm not going to be here by myself dealing with uncomfortability, because I was already uncomfortable before you got here. And she was like, I know, right? And so I'm like, yeah, right. So she gets up in the morning. She leaves after Christmas, once Christmas hits. And I stay an extra day or two. Her and I keep saying her name. Her and D fall out, and she gets mad at her because she wants to leave. Like, we supposed to be besties and you don't want to stay, blah, blah, blah. Get out, get out. So I instantly realized, y'all been friends for years. Why fall out with each other because she wants to leave? She feels uncomfortable, You can't blame somebody if they're feeling uncomfortable for leaving, right? So I'm like, I patched both of them back together. I patched my sister and D back together because they've been best friends for years. We sisters, we could fall out and be back cool because we family. So I'm like, don't do that to your friend. Y'all been friends for years. She like, you okay, you right. So she patches it up with Doretha, and Doretha leaves, and I say, and my sister even comes out and tells us something that we already knew. She said, I ain't even gonna lie to y'all, he don't want neither one of y'all here. So D's like, see, that's what I was talking about. I really didn't want to be here anyway, because that's what he making me feel uncomfortable. He making me feel uncomfortable. So she gets up and she already decided on it. But once you came out, like, I felt like for my sister, you could have kept that to yourself. You didn't have to tell nobody that. If your husband, y'all was back there in the room and y'all discussed that, that's not something you should have came out in the living room and told us, because now we definitely feel uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? So she gets up, she leaves. And I leave right behind her because the next day he was on bullshit. The next day starts, it's mid-afternoon, I'm playing with my nephews, bonding with my nephews, and he says, Shelly, I'm gonna be back, get the kids dressed and ready, and we gonna leave. He says, Celestine, you can stay here. And I came all the way down here from another city. I came from Akron to Euclid, Ohio, to come visit you and you my sister. So he says, yeah, Celestine, you could just stay here, we'll be back, just stay here till we get back. The gag is he wasn't gonna come back. He didn't want neither me or her friend D there. So you know what he was gonna do? He was gonna take her to the house on Ansel and stay there, spend the night there, and not come back to the house in Euclid. See, they were married, but they lived separate. She lived in Euclid in Harbor Crest, and he lived not too far from her down the street on Ansel. And if you from Cleveland, you know where I'm talking about. In that brick building, Spring Hill building, whatever it's called, Springbrook, whatever the fuck. He leaves, takes her, and before he takes her, I said, I'm about to go. And she was like, you gonna let my husband make you feel like that? You gonna let me? I said, listen here. I said, you already came out of the living room and told us that he didn't want neither one of us there. I said, when he take you wherever he taking you, he's not coming back. He's trying to make me feel uncomfortable so I can leave while y'all are gone and y'all can have y'all house back. He's trying to do whatever he can do to make us feel uncomfortable. And I said, I'm not about to do that. I said, you letting your husband control stuff when you asked me to come down here, and now you acting like, you know, you don't have no kind of get up about what your marriage is about. Like, I would have told my husband, no, my sister here visiting, either she go with us or you leave and do whatever the hell it is you want to do. We're not going with you. Like, have some balls with your husband. So that's how I felt. But it wasn't for me to say nothing. I was younger in them days. I was in my 20s, and I was like, you know what, I'm just about to skirt out. So I get up, I pack my stuff, and I'm like, I'm waiting on the bus or whatever. And she was like, no, you ain't gotta wait on the bus. I'm gonna give you the bus fare and you can get out now. You can get out now. You're mad at me because your husband is making people feel uncomfortable. So because I wanna leave. So I get up, she give me the money for the bus pass. I go ahead and I sit outside and I wait for the bus. I can probably bet you $1 that they didn't even leave that day because I went on ahead and left. So he probably came back and just stayed at the house. He probably just wanted to do that just to make me leave, because that's just the type of ignorant person he was. I even got proof for y'all to show y'all what type of person he is. I'm gonna let y'all hear these voice notes between me and another friend that she had and show y'all what type of person he was, because he was very ignorant. Very ignorant.
I see that he was still on the same bullshit he was on since we was fucking kids, because he did the same shit, and that's how we ended up falling out. He sat there and made me, in fact, he put me out, and Charlotte sat there and snooked me back in the house and made me sleep on the fucking floor and shit, because trying to hide me or whatever, so he wouldn't sit there and get up and start arguing with her or whatever.
So we're arguing and she like, you can leave, you can leave. I go ahead, I leave. From that moment, we fell out. It was a done deal. It was a wrap. It was everything. I just stopped speaking to her. Never spoke to her again. We never dealt with each other. Fast forward to 5 years later. I moved from Akron to Cleveland. And when I moved to Cleveland, I actually ended up living on Huff, where our biological birth giver used to live and where she used to live as well. She used to live in that very same building. That's where she met her husband at, because he was a security guard there back in the day. And that's how they met. In that very same building, I moved there. And she actually met her husband in that building. Married him, dated him for years, married him, had a couple kids by him, everything. So, boom. 5 years later, I'm always seeing the building where her husband lives. And I said, not only that, I wonder if she's okay, if she's doing good. So when I first moved there, months down the line, I started seeing her husband in and out, in and out, in and out the building where I was living at. I was living in a high rise that was known for crackheads going in and out, buying crack, selling crack, kind of like a New Jack City high rise, right? And I would see her husband and know who her husband was. And I guess her husband would go back home and tell Shelly that he seen me. Like, I seen your sister. I don't know what the conversation would be like when they would say that. But she knew that I was living in Cleveland, and she knew what building I lived in. And they used to go to the Ansel building down the street from where I was at. So boom, I'm like, I keep seeing her husband in this building, and I might as well squash the beef. It's like the end of June, and I'm like, her birthday July 10th. I really want to tell her happy birthday, and I really want to squash the beef. So I say, I kept thinking about it and letting it pass me. Thinking about it and letting it slide past me. So it'd be like June 25th, June 26th, and every now and then I'll be like, damn, her husband would live right there on Ansel, and I'll be seeing him in the building. Maybe I should ask him about her. Maybe I should. But I just would never say anything because I never liked it. Then I'm like, I might as well. I know her birthday coming. I know her birthday coming. I get on Facebook and I see this. I look at her page. She's not really posting, but she's not really, when she do post, she's not really saying nothing. She's kind of like doing reposts and really not talking about much. I don't even know if I can pull it up because there was an incident where somebody got to her page and responded to a family member of that we share on my mom's side and was like, I'm not dead, bruh. So somebody reported it and took it down. So I don't know if I can find what I saw when I woke up in the morning of July 10th, but there was something where someone she knew was saying that someone that was like a daughter to her passed away this morning, and her name was Shell, and it had her first and her last name. And before I even saw that, something said, sit down on your computer, even if you don't be friends with her on Facebook, just sit down at this computer, type her name in. If you can post on her wall, just say, happy birthday, sis, whatever we got going on, we need to stitch it up. The moment I go to patch that up, I see this wall post that says rest in peace, and her name was highlighted. And I'm like, it must have been a reason why she was passing my mind and passing my mind and passing my mind weeks before ahead of time. It had to have been a reason. And it was almost like God was talking to me because she just kept on. And God knows everything. So it's like almost as if God was telling me, you know, it's time to patch it up. But I never got around to it. And I kept letting it slide and letting it slide every time it hit my mind. And the morning of her birthday, when I went to patch up the beef and tell her happy birthday, that is what I saw. So when I saw that, I didn't know how to, my hands were trembling on the keyboard. I didn't know whether to contact the lady in her inbox and be like, hey, I'm her sister, can you tell me what's going on, what happened, what's going on. And I just, my fingers were trembling, and I'm like, nah. Our biological family doesn't really care about us. They've never been a part of our life like they should have been, even when they knew that we were around. Even when we found them and let them know, hey, we're here, we want a relationship, they never reached out, but we will reach out to them. And it just wasn't how it was supposed to be. So I was like, hey man, I also had beef with a cousin on my mom's side of the family as well. And we fell out about my mom's funeral, about some rumors about that. That's another story time for another day. And we fell out about that. I stopped speaking to them too, and I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna leave them alone, the whole biological family. And at that time that I saw that she had passed away, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and reach out to this cousin that I no longer get along with and let them know, because if I don't say anything, the biological family that we have on my mom's side, they don't really give a damn about you. Like, if you passed away without them knowing, they're just gonna assume that you're alive and you're okay, unless you tell them, because they really have a sense of not giving two F's, so to speak. And so, like, even if something was to happen to me today, they wouldn't even know that I was gone or if something was wrong, because that's how much they don't care and how much they don't reach out. Y'all, I can see them on Instagram, I can see them on Facebook, and if I don't post for a year, 2 years, 3 years, nobody's gonna be like, are you okay? Nobody's gonna slide in my DMs and be like, are you all right? And so I was like, I know they're not gonna know she gone, and I don't want them to think that she's still alive. I said, let me reach out and let someone know that she's gone. So I did just that. When I reached out, we contacted the lady that posted on her Facebook and said that she was gone, that she had passed away. And we asked what happened. It went through a whole bunch of loops of different people. And news came back that she was laying in the bed with her husband. And the baby was crying. And he said, "Shelly, get the baby, get the baby." And she wasn't responding. And when he went to turn her, black stuff, like I guess blood that had hit the air, came out of her mouth. And it was like black blood coming out of her mouth. When I heard that, I said, well, dang. The night before, she actually was on Facebook Live or something live, or she just posted a video where she was singing. And it was literally hours before she passed, like at 12 o'clock in the morning. If I can find it, I'll post it. If not, I can't. But my cousin was like, she sent it to me. She was like, this was the night before. This was just the night before. You know how you sing with all your might? She didn't even have no will or no might. Come to find out, she was an alcoholic and I didn't even know. I didn't see no signs.
Let me also mention that I was the only one to call the coroner's office and see what the cause of her death was. No one else called in the family, but they all acted like they cared at the funeral. And I wanted to know what really happened to my sister because it was just so sudden. Once again, I was the only one to this day who really knows how she passed away. She passed away from ketoacidosis due to severe alcoholism.
I would visit. Our birth giver passed away from alcoholism. And the thing about my sister's story is she lost custody of her children to someone who was distant in the family, like a second or third or fourth cousin. I don't know. Somewhere through my grandfather. I don't know. And they kept her kids and never told them who their mother was. And when we got to the funeral, let me rewind a little bit. When I was kicking it for the last time at my sister's house, when her husband would leave, me and Shelly would have conversation. When me and Shelly would have conversation, she was like, I miss my daughter, da-da-da-da. I miss my son, da-da-da. I miss my daughter, da-da-da. I miss my son, da-da-da. But she had 2 or 3 more kids after that they had at that time. And I'll be like, well, you don't know where they at? She'd be like, no, I don't know where they at. Y'all, we get to the funeral. Why is her daughter there that she had been looking for years, since she was like months old? And why is her son there? And everybody talking about, I don't know where she at. I don't know where she live. I don't know where she at. I don't know where she left. Where's Shelly's kids at? Where's Shelly's 2 oldest kids at? We get to the funeral and them 2 oldest kids is there. And they're meeting their mother for the first time in the casket. So I say, damn, that's how shady the biological family is. Somebody knew the whole time where her kids were. And this is their first time meeting their mom in the casket. So her oldest son didn't show up because it was too much for him to take, because guess what? The cousin that's linked to the grandfather on my biological mom's side of the family never told them that she wasn't their mother. She had them believing that she was their mother. And when she got the news that my sister passed away, she told them the truth and sat them down and was like, I'm not your real mother. Your real mother, I just got news that your real biological mother passed away. So when we get to the funeral, I'm seeing this lady. She steps up to me like, oh my God, you look just like da-da-da. My birth giver. It looks like a ghost that walked in the room. And I'm like, wow. And I'm just looking at my niece. I'm hugging her. I'm standing there next to her. I'll show y'all pictures. And I'm like in disbelief that my sister is in a casket and her kids are standing over her looking at her for the first time ever. Because they haven't met her. Because this lady is lying, telling them that she's their biological mother.
Let me also disclose that her death came from a combination of her husband beating on her,
So she drank herself to death. Her not being able to see her 2 oldest children, she would have contact with them, and then the lady would find out she had contact and cut her off from contact. Then she would find her again, then she would cut off contact, on top of like her husband just like not doing what he was supposed to do. And he stopped paying the insurance knowing she was sick because he used money to go smoke crack instead of paying her life insurance like he was supposed to. So she almost ended up being buried in Pottersfield. But the lady that had her kids felt so bad for what she had done for keeping the kids away from her that she went on ahead and paid $5,000 to get her cremated. Well, it's too late now. That, I'm telling you, when I saw my niece stand over that casket and look down at her mother for the first time, it drew tears. And it pissed me off all at the same time. And I'm like, I cannot believe this. As much as me and Shelly talked about her seeing her kids again, and everybody wanted to pretend and fake and act like they didn't know where these kids was and where the lady that was that had them, that's supposed to be a cousin on our grandfather's side, like, that's sick. So what I learned is life is too short. We had beef because of her husband making me feel some kind of way, and I just really wish that we would have patched that up before she passed away. So my message today is learn that life is too short. If you got beef with somebody, patch it up. If they your biological family, patch it up. Because you never know when it's your time or their time, and when your time is going to come and when their time is going to come. You feel what I'm saying? So I just want to put this message out there, and that is my story time about my sister passing away without us patching up beef. And I thought I would share that story. And I truly miss her. We were on the phone all day, every day. When we first got to know each other and met each other, we loved each other, and then we just fell out when she got married. And you know, people side with their husband and they go on about their life, and that's just how it is. So that's my story time for today, and I hope you guys take with you that life is too short, and if you got beef with people in your family, patch it up, please. And on that note, always remember, y'all know my slogan, when I do a story time, it gets crazy.